So before teaching a level 2 class, I'll look over the objectives for the lesson. What are we learning? What are the target vocabulary words? What are the target sentence patterns? I'll also look at the feedback from the previous lesson. If I taught the lesson or if another teacher taught the lesson, did they note that the student had difficulty with a concept? Usually, if the student had difficulty with a concept, the next lesson will, of course, assume the student has mastered that concept or at least can do it quite well. And so I like to kind of review that concept at the beginning of class so that when we move into the new content, they have gone over that concept they had difficulty with before. But I will look over the target vocabulary and the target sentence patterns. I like to think about what I will say on each slide, because of course with level 2, you want to avoid incidental language. So it's important to think about everything that you want to say, as well as I think what you want the student to say. Sometimes we can get in the trap in level 2 of asking a question that seems like it would be a good question, it's related, it would maybe extend the material, but when you think about from a level 2's perspective, how would the student answer that question? There's not really a good way for them to understand. So I think understanding what you want to ask as well as what you expect as a response is important in level 2 for all of the slides. And going through all of the activities, making sure you understand how you want to present the material so that you're not reading the teacher directions during class. You kind of have a game plan of this is how I want to present, this is how I want to model, so that there's smooth transitions from one slide to the next. Absolutely. I think one of the things we have to do is to provide differentiation for our students to meet their needs. And you might teach a class 5 times to 5 different students, and it goes 5 different ways. The students' abilities as well as their age will influence how you want to approach the class. If you see that a student is maybe struggling in reading, then you know you're going to need to provide some extra support and maybe allow for extra time for any slides that have reading activities. If a student struggles with pronunciation, then on your introductory slides, you're going to have to allow for a little more time to introduce new vocabulary words and to practice pronunciation. Another thing that's difficult is age. So in level 2, usually we're dealing with with younger students, which makes it easier for us. Of course, we can be silly and goofy and have our props and have fun, but it can become difficult when you have a student who is 12 years old in a level 2 class. That student may not enjoy the silly antics as much and may not buy into it. They don't want to talk to a puppet. So it's important to prepare in a way that will allow your student to be engaged and to enjoy the class. Because if you don't have their buy-in, you don't have them engaged in the class, then you've lost them. It doesn't matter how much you try to attempt them to do what you want them to. You have to have their buy-in in what you're doing.
I actually prepare in the same method for all of my classes, and I teach all levels, pre-VIP Kid to level 6. And even after thousands of classes, I still look at every single lesson. Lessons change, slides change. I want to be prepared, knowing what the vocabulary is, knowing what props I need to make sure are available. I do actually have prop chaos around me, so I try to keep many things in reach. But you know, there might be one lesson that, oh, that terracotta warrior isn't where I can reach it because I haven't used it in a couple of weeks. I want to have it handy. So I do look at the lessons for props for sure. I actually write them all out the old-fashioned way on a piece of paper and put all of the lessons. I might fit 8 lessons on a small sheet of paper, but I keep it organized with the time, the name of the lesson, the student's name. I write out reward ideas that might be for that particular one. Because I tend to change rewards based on the student, based on the lesson, I write down of course, the objectives, so target sentences, vocabulary that we're learning, and sight words, things like that. And then I can look at that again, right before all of the classes start in the morning, be sure that I have all those props available. I've got it clear in my head. It is also very helpful to have that when I go back to do feedback and say, okay, now, what did we work on? Which word was difficult? And my framework of notes of that actual lesson are right there too. So I like to be prepared. I find that it makes it easier for my lesson to go smoothly. It makes it easier to see where the lesson is going and what we need to accomplish. And then it makes the feedback easier.